Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be covering my new hypertrophy program, push leg pull split, a bit different from my traditional upper lower that I've been running for the past couple of months, even year probably by now. But ultimately, I just wanted to cover my workout programming and give you guys a full insight week of how I train. This could be great for giving you ideas on different exercises, as well as just seeing how I incorporate progressive overload and then my sets and rep schemes and all the nuances that go along with training. Because there definitely is a lot to learn. Even I am still learning. So if you guys do have any constructive criticism, or feel free to leave that down in the comment section below. And then if you are somebody just getting into training, my biggest recommendation is definitely to just try and learn from other people's programming if they ever share it, and just take into fine detail why they do certain things and try and learn from that. And then also definitely try out varying exercises, because certain exercises you'll have a lot better mind muscle connection from and just get a lot more bang for your buck in those exercises, and they're ones to build off of and then progressively overload ultimately. Without further ado, gonna hop straight into it. So I run a push leg pull split instead of your traditional push pull legs, and that is ultimately because if I train a back day before my leg day, at some points when my mid to upper back is actually sore before training legs, it can directly inhibit my ability to really push it on the squatting movements. So I just stay away from that, because anything that is inhibiting your training, especially when it's something easy to fix like switching around 2 days, I definitely would recommend taking a look at. And ultimately, some exercises may not be for you that are traditional. One example of that, going into my first push day, is I actually incorporate a dumbbell bench press instead of a traditional barbell bench press, just because it bothers my shoulder to do the flat barbell bench press, and I see no issues with my development stuff using that dumbbell bench press. So you guys shouldn't be afraid to exclude certain exercises for you if it doesn't work, or if a certain injury is prohibiting you from doing it. But nonetheless, starting out with that dumbbell bench press, and I'm not going to go through every exercise, so if you guys do want to pause the video and just go through it, but I'll touch on a couple of key notes for sure regarding my training and stuff. So ultimately, with the push days, I'm looking to switch back and forth from like a horizontal push that would be more of a chest and tricep dominant, to more of a shoulder pressing or shoulder specific exercise, and I'll go back and forth on those. I don't have a set amount of like exercises per day per se, or a set of number of sets and stuff, but just some of the things I like to do. And then at the end of day one, as you guys can see on screen where I'm highlighting, those face pulls and tricep pushdowns, great superset that you can do. Obviously, face pulls are rear delt, technically a pull exercise, but I just like to incorporate it because using that superset, it eliminates a lot of like the time that I need in training and brings down my overall time in the gym, which is never an issue to have more time in your life. But keynotes there, the ones that I would really focus on progressive overload is in terms of the dumbbell bench press. We would go from 4 sets of 8, and then the next week you could go 4 sets of 9, 4 sets of 10, or you could increase the load. So instead of the like 80, 90, 100, you could go for 90, 90, 100, 100, and so on and so forth. So ultimately, with the progressive overload, you're looking to either increase your weights per week, increase your form, increase your time under tension. There's a lot of nuances that go into it, but the two major ones I would say for most people's programming is either increasing the volume in sets and reps, or increasing the weights in terms of how you're training. So now moving on to my lower day one, back squat, and then I will go to a hip hinging movement, or more posterior chain or hamstring dominant thing, and those will be the two exercises that I really focus on progressive overload. So with the squatting, once again, maybe 4 sets of 10 next week, depending on how I'm feeling. I even ran 2 weeks at the 165 kilo mark, just because I wasn't super happy with my form and stuff. So fixed that up, and really happy with my second week, which I'm currently in, with the form that went down with that. So ultimately, just a lot of exercises that I use to add some different volume, and then make sure that I am growing in terms of hypertrophy aspects. So a lot of higher reps in this programming for sure, usually running like an 8 to 15 range. And then even some exercises, I'll probably work up to a 20 when all is said and done and towards the end of my mesocycle. And then the next pull day, I'd love to incorporate pull-ups. And ultimately with these, in terms of overload, I am running 4 sets of 8. And then the last set is actually an AMRAP. So ultimately, I guess it's 3 sets of 8 and then 1 set of as many reps as possible. And hopefully look into, in the future, just increase that number on that 4th set. But able to get 8, 8, 10, which I am happy with. And then also a keynote for you guys, seeing the barbell rows. If I do have a video, I don't think I have a video of the exercise, but ultimately the barbell rows that I do are from a deficit, or I guess using a full range of motion. So with 135, it is very challenging, to be honest, even at that light of weight, where you'll see guys like barbell rowing like 4 plates with shitty form and stuff. I'm just not about that. At the end of the day, train with a purpose. And in most cases, for most people, full range of motion is going to be adequate, and it's really what you want to do and would be optimal for enhancing your muscle growth. So take that as a keynote for sure. And then just some more specific volume for biceps, one of the major muscle groups I'm looking to bring up in this programming. And that's ultimately one of the reasons that I am running a push-pull leg split, or push legs pull split instead of an upper lower, is I'm looking to get a bit more size on my upper body and kind of bring up some lagging body parts that I do have. And ultimately, I don't enjoy actually training upper body more than I do train lower body. So we'll see how long this goes, but hopefully run like 8 to 12 weeks of push-pull legs and then transition back into upper lower, depending on how I'm feeling, how things are going, my recovery, and all of that sorts. And then incline bench press, one of the things that I can get away with my shoulder. Once again, the progressive overload will come with that, like 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12 range. And then also just including some different exercises that I usually wouldn't run, like cable lateral raises is a great exercise if you've never tried that. And then also another one I'll touch on with the landmine press. This you could switch out for like a dumbbell bench press, but once again, I have a bit of clicking in my shoulder and stuff. So staying away from that and then incorporating other pressing movements that will give you a similar stimulus. So with that landmine press, it does take some of the pressure and binding off of my shoulder when you like flare your elbows in the traditional like seated dumbbell press. So moving on to that, the second lower day of the week, I am focusing my like attention and progressive overload on a more posterior chain dominant movement instead of quad dominant movement with the deadlifts. And then I will also include some progressive overload with those front squats as we go. But nonetheless, another solid day here. And then right at the end here, I just have calf raises and shrugs. And as you guys can see from the notes over here, the biggest thing for me is just to do them. Calves are just one of the body parts that I just do not enjoy training and usually end up skipping out on. And then also I do not really train traps at all. I would say I have good trap genetics, and then also from my Olympic lifting background, I think I hit traps quite a bit, as well as doing a lot of different pull movements, incorporate your traps a bit too. So just never really included it, but hopefully including these two stimuluses, two new stimuluses essentially will have help to actually enhance muscle growth for those two body parts, which definitely could use some work, and for most people, I would say calves could use some work. But nonetheless, moving on to the last day of the week with pull day number 2. Weighted pull-ups, great option for me to use. Don't have a ton of different like rowing type machines and stuff that I can progressively overload on. So looking to really incorporate those pull-ups, and I think just pull-ups are a great exercise for overall back development. So if you do not include them and you hate them, like I used to, just probably a year or two ago, I couldn't do probably 5 or 6 pull-ups any more than that. I probably wouldn't have made it, but nonetheless, working slowly and have built a really good foundation on pull-ups. And then also T-bar rows is one I absolutely love. If done correctly, definitely a great stimulus. And then nothing too crazy on here. Got some rear delts in here, and then also some hammer curls. But ultimately, just wanted to cover my training split with you guys, and then just a full week of training and how I do things. So nothing too crazy. Just have my predicted RPEs, which will go up week to week based on where I am in my meso. But this is kind of like an introductory week. Just wanted to get acclimated with all the movements, and then really figure out what weights I would be using for all these movements, just because I hadn't trained in a couple of weeks and hadn't been consistent with it. And then a good keynote that I would recommend using on this far right side, you guys can see my last set RPE. And if when you're going through your programming and developing another week, or if you have a coach and stuff, this is a great insight for them to be able to see the difficulty level of the exercise on your last set, and then be able to adjust it for progressive overload if it's too light, or to stay there for a couple of weeks and hopefully just continue to build that foundation of motor pathways and just get used to exercise, and ultimately then in the future be able to change it once that RPE does change, or just ultimately change the training stimulus and change it overall. But nonetheless, that pretty much wraps it up for the video. Just a quick one. If you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely leave them down below. If you did enjoy me sharing this information with you, or if you would be interested in getting a program from me or anything, or have any questions about programming, I am by no means like exercise science person or all knowledgeable on these topics, but I do have quite a good background, I would say. Based on my physique, I've been able to develop and have done well with programming in the past, so leave those down below. And if you did go on to enjoy this type of just basic informational video and give you a little bit of behind the scenes insight that most people won't share with you, definitely leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for future content. And with that, I would just like to say thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. It does mean a lot to me and does boost the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully, it can continue to grow the channel over this year and into the years in the future. But without further ado, just have a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys in the next one.